There is something moving between you right now that has nothing to do with contact. No message, no call, no sign in the obvious sense. Just this quiet, persistent sense that the space between you is not empty, that even in the absence of anything visible, something is traveling, something is arriving, and you keep receiving it at strange hours, in the middle of ordinary things, in the way your body shifts before your mind has a reason to shift. That is not wishful thinking. That is not the longing manufacturing evidence of itself. What you are experiencing is real. It is measurable in a scientific sense, and it has been happening between you and your twin flame for longer than you realize. The silence is not empty. It never was. It is full of communication that your body has been receiving the entire time. If you have ever felt him without any logical reason to feel him, if you have ever known something change between you before any external sign confirmed it, leave a like and subscribe so these videos keep finding you. Drop the words "I already know" in the comments, because what you know in your body, before the mind can explain it, is exactly what this video is about. To every woman in the comments saying "I feel him but I cannot explain it," I see you. And I want you to know, what you feel is real. What you received in your body before your mind had any reason to receive it, that was real. And the fact that it keeps collapsing, that you feel the clarity and then lose it again, that does not make it less real. It just means the knowing needs a daily practice to hold it. And most of us were never taught what that actually looks like. That is exactly why I built I Choose Me. It starts where you are, not before the shift, after it. It assumes you have already done the brave thing. You have decided to choose yourself. It asks, now what do you do on Tuesday afternoon when the pull comes back? Now what do you do when the signs show up and the loop starts? Now what do you do if he reaches out and you do not want to lose what you have built? How do you stay strong and continue to choose you? 10 lessons. 10 tools. A workbook that tracks your movement from point A to point B in your own handwriting. The link is in my description. It is 7 words long and it already sounds like you. I choose me. Come inside. The work continues there. There is a field that exists between two people who have made the kind of contact you made with your twin flame. Not a metaphorical field, a measurable one. The nervous system is not contained inside the skin the way we tend to think of it. It is relational by design. It is built to send and receive information from other nervous systems, particularly the nervous systems of people who have established deep attachment with it. Alan Shore, a neuropsychologist whose research at the University of California, Los Angeles, has shaped the field of interpersonal neurobiology over the last 3 decades, describes what he calls right brain to right brain communication. The right hemisphere of the brain, the one that processes emotion, relational information, body states, and nonverbal signal, is in constant implicit exchange with the right brains of people we are deeply attached to. Not through language, not through words or text messages, through the body, through the nervous system, through the invisible field of information that 2 nervous systems create between them once they have established an attachment bond. This exchange does not pause during no contact. It does not require physical proximity. The right brain does not operate on the logic of out of sight, out of mind. It operates on the logic of deep attachment, which does not recognize the absence of contact as the absence of connection. The communication continues. It moves through whatever channel is available. And the channel that remains available, even through the silence, is the body. Your body, specifically, which is still attuned to his nervous system at a level below the level of conscious awareness. What you feel in the silence is not imagination. It is reception. There is a question that almost every woman in mid-separation asks at some point, usually in a moment of frustration with herself, usually late at night or in the middle of something that should be occupying her full attention. Why, she asks, am I thinking about him right now? There was no trigger. There was no song, no memory, no obvious prompt. The thought arrived on its own from nowhere, and it had a specific quality to it that was different from ordinary remembering. It felt like contact. It was contact. That is the scientific answer. Shore describes implicit relational knowing as the right brain's record of significant attachment experiences. This knowing is not stored in memory the way we normally think of memory, as something we can access deliberately, call up and examine, decide to revisit or not. Implicit relational knowing is stored somatically, in the nervous system itself, in the body's record of what it has felt in the presence of a specific person. And it is continuously active. It is not something you access when you choose to think of him. It is something the body is always processing, always updating, always responding to, below the level of your conscious awareness. When he thinks of you, which he does, the pattern of nervous system activation that you represent in his implicit relational knowing changes. His body shifts, subtly, in ways he likely is not consciously tracking. And your body, which is still attuned to his at the right brain level, can receive that shift. Not always, not with perfect reliability. But in the moments when you are least defended, when you are not in the analytical mind, when you are in the in-between state of falling asleep or just waking or in the middle of something routine that does not require your conscious attention, the signal comes through. That is why it arrives at strange moments. The guard is down. The analytical mind that usually filters experience into what makes logical sense has temporarily stepped aside. And what comes through in that quieter space is the actual signal, the real communication, the thing the bodies have been exchanging that the minds have been too busy to notice. The question that follows naturally is, what is he sending? Not in a literal way, not in the way that would make you want to decode a specific transmission or figure out a precise message, but in the energetic sense, in the sense of what the body communicates when it cannot communicate through language. His nervous system is not broadcasting indifference. It cannot. The type of attachment bond that forms in a twin flame connection creates what Shore describes as a mutual regulatory system. Each nervous system becomes a regulator for the other. Each body learns at the implicit level how to come back to baseline through the presence, real or felt, of the other. What this means in the practical reality of separation is something almost paradoxical. He is using the felt sense of you, the right brain record of your nervous system, to regulate his own, not consciously, not in a way he would admit or probably even recognize, but in the moments when his system is overwhelmed, when the life he is living without you produces a quality of stress that his self-regulation cannot fully handle. His nervous system reaches for the one regulatory resource that is most deeply embedded in its implicit knowing, which is you. This is not romance. This is not poetry. This is the nervous system doing what it was built to do, using its most reliable co-regulator. And in a twin flame connection, after the depth of attunement that happened between you in the beginning, you are the most deeply coded regulatory resource in his implicit system. That does not go away because he decided to go quiet. It does not get replaced easily or quickly. And it is one of the reasons, a real neurobiological reason, why what he is searching for in every surface relationship since you, in every casual connection, in every attempt to fill the space with something easier, continues to feel like a slightly less real version of the thing he actually needs. His nervous system knows the difference, and it keeps telling him. There's a version of no contact that is strategic, that is performed. That is the mind saying, I will not reach out because that is what I am supposed to do right now. And every day is a small act of willpower to hold the line. That is not what is happening in you right now. What is happening in you is something the body does not need the mind's permission for. The implicit relational system, the right brain's deep processing of this connection, is quietly doing work that has nothing to do with strategy and everything to do with something closer to integration. The body is not waiting, it is organizing. It is making sense, at the level below language, of everything this connection has been, everything it has asked of you, everything it has broken open and put back together differently than it found it. Somatic experiencing. developed by Peter Levine out of his research into how the nervous system processes incomplete stress responses, describes what he calls the completion cycle. When a stressful experience is interrupted before the nervous system can complete its natural response to it, the incomplete cycle gets stored in the body as held activation, as tension, as the bracing and the vigilance and the chronic low-level alertness that characterizes a nervous system still waiting for the story to resolve. The completion cycle, when it is allowed to happen, does not look like resolution from the outside. It looks like settling. It looks like the body doing something quiet and slightly strange, something that the mind cannot fully track and therefore tends to label as confusion or numbness or inexplicable emotion. But what it actually is, from the nervous system's perspective, is the release of held activation that was keeping the system in emergency organization. Your body is completing something. In the silence. In the absence of new stimulus from him. Your nervous system is finally getting the space to finish the response it started. Slowly, in layers, in those strange moments of emotion that arrive without an obvious cause. This is not the body giving up on the connection. This is the body completing the cycle so it can meet whatever comes next from a more regulated place. That is not the same thing. The love is not stored in the activation. It is stored in the implicit relational knowing, in the right brain's deep record of him, and that record is not being erased. It is being freed from the emergency response that has been wrapped around it. There is something about the architecture of the divine masculine silence that is misread almost universally, including by him. What looks like a wall is actually a window. Or more accurately, what functions as a wall in terms of his conscious, behavioral choices, the not reaching out, the maintaining of distance, the willingness to sustain a life that looks like it does not include you, functions simultaneously as something far more porous at the level below conscious choice. Shore's research identifies what he calls the implicit self as distinct from the explicit self. The explicit self is the one that makes decisions, manages behavior, constructs the narrative of a life. The implicit self is the one that feels, that responds, that is shaped by deep relational experiences before the conscious mind is involved. In most people, these two selves are relatively integrated. In the divine masculine, in the middle of a twin flame separation, they have often come into significant conflict. His explicit self has made a series of decisions that add up to, "This is not something I am pursuing right now." The reasons behind those decisions are real, even if they are also incomplete. They are not invented. They are not simply cowardice. They involve real fear, real developmental limitation, real internal pressure that he does not yet have the tools to metabolize without more space than the connection was giving him. But his implicit self, the nervous system, the right brain, the deep relational knowing, never agreed to those decisions. It was not consulted, and it continues quietly, stubbornly, with complete indifference to the explicit self's choices, to hold the record of you with the same clarity and the same precision it held from the beginning. This is why the wall is not what it appears to be. The behavior says one thing. The nervous system says something entirely different. And in the moments when the explicit self is not working hard enough to maintain the wall, when he is tired or not paying attention, or in the in-between states where the conscious defenses are softer, the implicit self leaks through. The thought of you arrives, the feeling arrives, the regulatory pull toward you arrives. And he cannot account for it using the narrative he has built to explain why he is where he is. He is, at the implicit level, still completely in this. Today, May 8th, 2026, the sky is offering something specific and worth understanding in the context of what we have been talking about. Mercury in Taurus is sitting with the Sun in Taurus, and that Taurus emphasis has a quality that is particularly relevant for the kind of communication we have been describing. Taurus is a sign that operates through the body. It is the sign most associated with what is felt physically, with what is known through sensation rather than analysis, with the patient intelligence of the body that does not require explanation or narrative to know what it knows. This is not the communication of Mercury and Gemini, which is quick and verbal and surface level. This is the communication of the body, of the slow, unhurried knowing that arrives when you stop asking for information and simply allow yourself to feel what is present. The Taurus sky right now is amplifying exactly the channel that your right brain uses to receive what his nervous system is sending. It is a sky that makes body knowing louder, that makes the implicit clearer, that makes the subtle signal more available to your conscious awareness than it usually is, because the quality of attention available right now is slower and more embodied than the speed of the Aries season that came before it. Whatever you have been receiving in the last few days, the sense of him that arrived without reason, the moments of feeling contact that had no visible source, those are real. And right now, they are more accessible than usual. Trust what your body is receiving, not as a reason to act, not as information that requires a response, as data, as the confirmation that the field between you is active and that what moves through it is not nothing. There is a skill in this that most women on this journey have not been taught, and the absence of that skill is one of the main reasons the invisible communication, instead of being a source of grounding and orientation, becomes a source of more confusion and more pain. The skill is the difference between reception and merger. Reception is what happens when you feel the signal, feel the contact through the implicit field, and stay in your own body while you feel it. You are here, in your own nervous system, in your own center, receiving information from the field. You feel him, but you remain you. You register the contact without losing the ground under your feet. Merger is what happens when the signal arrives, and you leave yourself to follow it. When the feeling of him pulls you into his world, his timeline, his state, his energy, until you are no longer in your own center, but in the field between you, in the longing, in the loop of trying to decode what you are feeling and figure out what it means about where he is and what he is about to do. David Schnarch, in his work on differentiation theory, describes the capacity to be close without losing yourself as one of the hardest things human beings have to develop. Not because closeness is dangerous, because the nervous system, when it is deeply attached, has a pull toward merger that is almost gravitational. The implicit relational system wants to co-regulate. It is designed for co-regulation. And when the co-regulation is not available in the physical world, the mind tries to manufacture it by following the signal into his space. The difference between the two is not about whether you allow yourself to feel him. Feel him. That capacity is not a problem. It is evidence of the depth of the connection. The difference is whether you feel him from inside yourself, or whether feeling him means temporarily leaving yourself. Stay inside yourself. Feel the signal from the ground of your own nervous system. Notice what arrives. Notice how it moves through you. Notice what it does in your body, what it opens, what it clarifies, what it settles. And then come back to your own life, your own body, your own center. The invisible communication does not require you to abandon yourself to receive it. It requires the opposite. It requires you to be so fully in your own body that the signal can arrive clearly, without distortion, without the mind immediately translating it into something it needs to do or decide or figure out. This is the thing that changes the entire texture of waiting. You are not standing outside a closed door hoping for something to happen. You are inside an ongoing conversation that is happening at a level below the level that closed doors affect. The door that is closed is his explicit behavior, his conscious choices, the surface structure of the separation. That door is real. You are not in denial about it. But the conversation that is happening between your nervous systems, between your right brains, in the field of implicit relational knowing that connects two people who have made this kind of contact, that conversation has not paused. It cannot pause. The nervous system does not know how to pause a deep attachment the way the mind knows how to pause a behavior. You are already in communication with him, right now, through the field, through the body, through the implicit channel that the silence has never been able to close. What that means for how you move through today and tomorrow and the weeks ahead is this. You do not have to manufacture contact. You do not have to perform indifference to somehow earn reunion. You do not have to push harder or wait more patiently or do the healing in a specific way to make something happen in his timeline that is already happening. What you do have to do, the one thing this work is actually asking of you, is stay in your own body. Stay in your own nervous system. Keep choosing your own center over the pull toward merger. Keep feeling the signal from inside yourself, not from inside the longing. Because the woman who can receive what the field is sending and stay grounded while she receives it, that is the woman his nervous system is trying to move toward. Not the woman who has erased herself waiting. Not the woman who has followed every signal so far out of her own center that she no longer knows what is her and what is the connection. The one who is here, in her own body, receiving clearly, rooted. That is where this is going. And you are closer to it than you think. The invisible communication is already happening. The only question is whether you are regulated enough to receive it clearly. You are. Stay here. Let it come.